employers can thrive and compete globally and contribute meaningfully to national development. NECA prides itself in a membership database of about over 4,000 direct and indirect members. And we have our presence in the whole nation, with our headquarters being in Lagos, and then overseeing the affairs of the nation from 5 geographical areas. We have in Ibadan, we have in Enugu, Abuja. Abuja oversees the whole of the North Central, and Northwest, Northeast. And then we have in Port Harcourt, we also have a presence in Port Harcourt. So with our membership, NECA is also a multi-sectoral business membership organization. We are not like other business membership organizations that have that maybe are just focused on one particular sector. NECA is multi-sectoral. In essence, we cover the manufacturing, the banking, the telecommunications, oil and gas, constructions, and many more. We serve both those ones that are into product-based businesses, and then service-based businesses. So we serve as a bridge between the private sector and the government, ensuring that the interests of employers are not just heard, but actively reflected in Nigeria's economic and labor policies. In NECA, we champion ethical business practices, compliance with labor law, and decent work standards. The reason for this particular KSS we are having today. So we try to equip employers with the tools, insights, and platforms that they need to grow responsibly. Whether it is through policy advocacy, we are there. Strategic partnerships, NECA is there. Capacity building, we do that. We do a lot of training, both nationally and globally. And then our technical support services too. So I invite also, if you are not a member of NECA and you're on this call, you're on this knowledge sharing session, I invite you to join NECA, because NECA is committed to building strong businesses for a stronger Nigeria. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Judith, for that insight into who we are and what we do in Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, NECA. Moving further in our agenda, we'll be inviting our Director, Legal, Tax, Regulatory, Mr. Thompson Akpabio, who will be giving a welcome remarks on behalf of the Director General of NECA, Mr. Adewale Smatoherinde. Over to you, Mr. Thompson. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Thompson Akpabio. I work for NECA. Looking around, we have 110 people on this call. So on behalf of Mr. Adewale Smatoherinde, my DG, the Director General of NECA, who will certainly join us. He's actually in a meeting, trying to wrap up another meeting as I speak. I welcome you all to this knowledge sharing session. Let me start by appreciating the Executive Chairman of EFCC for finding time when we paid a courtesy visit to his office, and we did discuss this subject matter of employment fraud, and was something that is very dear to his mind, and also to NECA as well. I also want to thank him because he has created time to share some thoughts with us through the EFCC, and so that the organized business could be well informed, be guided on the subject of employment fraud, which is not just ravaging the private sector, but also the public sector. So every sector is well targeted in this subject matter. Still on that, I also want to appreciate everyone that will be making one form of presentation or the other. We have a rich line of discussants, which spans over decades of experience in their various fields. I particularly want to appreciate my brother joining us from the Labor Union. I thank you so very much. A very brand new MNI. Thank you so much. I also want to appreciate the chairman of our committee of human resource experts and learning experts. Thank you so much, Madam Abaton. Thank you We also want to appreciate the lady that has graciously will be speaking to us from one of my institutes, CIPM. We do appreciate. Basically, we want to urge participants to keep an open mind, ready to learn and probably relearn some things, and also engage the faculties that will be speaking with us even this afternoon. It's important that we get to this discussion out there in the public so that whatever sector you find yourself, public or private, whatever field you find yourself, whatever organization you also find yourself, you'll be well guided. We are now in an era that the activity of an employer will bind the organization. You are also in an era that the activity of an employee, a staff, will bind the organization. We're also in an era where people are looking for jobs here and there, and there are one or two practices that is not appropriate. So some of the things that we have been witnessing, whether utterly forbidden by our laws or being introduced into Nigeria through one means or the other, are some of the areas that we'll be discussing this afternoon. On that note, I just want to thank every one of us, and please, is the knowledge sharing session. So we look forward to receiving for your feedback, your comments, your questions through the use of the chat room component. I bring you greetings again from my DG, Mr. Dawale Smart here and there, and I wish you all a fruitful deliberation. Thank you for joining us. Good afternoon again. Femi, over to you.
No, I can't hear you.
Hello, Femi, over to Hello, can you hear me? Hello,
Yes,
can you
please,
hear
we can
me?
hear you.
Okay, all right, all right. Thank you,
Yes, you are
Madam
audible.
Abaton. Okay. Judith, please, I'd like you to take over from here.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Thompson, for that warm welcome remarks on behalf of our Director General, Mr. Adewale Smart Oyerinde. We are now on the item of the keynote speech and, or the keynote presentation, and we have a very, very widely read and astute expert who will be taking us through this presentation. His name is Dr. Joseph Ogunje. He's the current acting commandant of the EFCC Academy. Dr. Ogunje is a seasoned financial investigator with over 20 years of professional experience. He's a fellow of the Chartered System Accountant, a licensed forensic accountant, and a conventional accountant. His academic and professional journey spans both local and international institutions, and he's a respected international lecturer, and he's a respected and also a trainer in the field of financial investigation. He has trained personnel across several institutions within Nigeria and across sub-regional bodies, contributing significantly to capacity building in the financial crimes investigation. Dr. Ogunje is happily married to Juliet, and they are blessed with 4 sons. Please, colleagues, I would like us to warmly, virtually, with an applause, a virtual applause, welcome Dr. Joseph Ogunje as he takes us through his session. Dr. Joseph, you're welcome, sir. Dr. Joseph, if you can kindly unmute.
Are we together now?
We can hear you clearly, sir. You
Okay,
can share
good
your
morning.
screen and you. Good morning.
I think you go ahead and share my screen there. Good morning, everyone. I want to first adopt the existing protocol. Director General and every other persons there. I bring you greetings from the Executive Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. As rightly introduced, my name is Dr. Joseph Oguji, and I'll be speaking to this piece in a few minutes. Then after then, we go ahead and discuss. Now, I'll try as much as possible to bring a lot of practicals to bear, case studies to bear, than theorizing the class. I'll be glad if you can share my screen from, can you help me share from there? Hello? Hello?
We can hear you, Dr. Joseph.
Can you help me share?
I'm trying to do that immediately.
Okay. All right. Now the topic before us is tackling the menace of employment fraud in the public and private sector, issues and the challenges, and a collaborative way out. I'm going to speak the mind of the system, the mind of the commission. And the head of this class, this is going to be the learning call. We'll try to look at the overview and the rise in employment fraud in Nigeria. We attempt to define it. It's going to be a working definition of employment fraud, the impact of employment fraud on job seekers, economy, and national image. That is the reputational image it portrays. Then the common types of employment fraud, case studies on employment fraud. We'll try to look at some few. Causes of employment fraud, the effect of employment fraud, the EFCC role in combating employment fraud, the challenges we are faced with by the commission. Then we'll look at a few recommendations. Then we'll draw the cutting close. Thank you. In 2007, before my chairman says this, before he joined the commission, he conducted research into employment fraud and found that Nigeria lost over 40 billion annually to fraudulent employment practices. That is the position of our chairman in one of his presentations. Can we go ahead, please? Next slide, please. The next slide, okay. Somebody, this is their cry all the time. Say, somebody, please help me. I need a job or a loan. This is what we see most times. I need a job or I need a loan. And that makes, to some extent, the masses gullible. The overview of the rise in employment fraud in Nigeria. Over the past decade, Nigeria has witnessed a troubling rise in employment-related fraud. And this surge continues. It's largely driven by high unemployment rates, particularly among the youth, which has created a fertile ground for fraudsters to exploit desperate job seekers. The proliferation of digital platforms and social media, again, has made it easier for scammers to pose as legitimate employers. They pose as fake job openings and deceive unsuspecting individuals into paying money for non-existent job. These scams often involve false promises of employment with, of course, reputable companies. The request for upfront payment for training, processing fee, employment kits, and even elaborate fake interviews. Victims not only suffer financial losses, but also they face emotional trauma. They face identity theft, and again, there are disillusions with the job market. What is employment fraud? Employment fraud refers to deceptive or dishonest practices aimed at exploiting job seekers. Two very important keywords here: deceptive or dishonest practices aimed at exploiting job seekers, or employers for financial or personal gain. Denominator is always financial or personal gain. In more cases, it involves scammers posing as legitimate employers. And they go ahead to recruit, they have recruitment agencies or job platforms to trick individuals into paying money, providing sensitive information, or working under false pretenses. These are the key things. The impact of employment fraud, number one, on job seekers. They have financial losses. Victims almost most times they often pay for fake processing fee, training, or medicals, like I rightly mentioned. They have emotional and psychological trauma, rejection, betrayal, stress from being scammed can lead to anxiety and depression. They have loss of confidence in the entire system. Job seekers may become discouraged and lose trust in genuine recruitment processes. Identity theft, most of them, the scammers may steal personal documents and data during fake applications processes. So these are the things they have as first, financial losses, emotional and psychological loss of confidence in the system. Then again, they are exposed to identity theft. Then on the economy, we have reduced productivity. Skilled individuals waste time chasing fake opportunity instead of contributing to the workforce. They have misallocation of resources. Money spent on fake job reduces household spending. Of course, you agree with me. And this has a kind of has a chain kind of network. If you are not directly involved, maybe you are the parents or you are the friends or you are the brother, you give them money and this money is expended for this fake engagement. Discouraged workforce, a demotivated job-seeking population slows labor market growth. Again, it's a deterrence of investment. Rampant fraud discourages foreign and local investors from creating job opportunities. This is just everywhere. You can see there's this kind of euphoria that is hanging around the economic atmosphere of the country. The first thing that comes to the mind of the people outside the shore is that it is a country that is whipped into fraud and everybody seems to be a fraudster. Next, please. The impact of employment fraud on Nigeria as a national image. It has a very strong, very bad reputational image. Loss of global trust. International organizations may hesitate to collaborate due to fraud concerns. And this is what we witness here and there. Most times, if you want to go into engagement or collaborative, genuine collaborative processes with stakeholders that are outside the shore, they are very careful. Damage to online reputations. Nigeria is sometimes unfairly associated with internet scams. And of course, you know that is one of the driving issues we have. Then we have reduced tourism and mobility. Fraud-related reputation can affect visa application and travel opportunities for Nigeria. Just this morning, I went to see whether I can get a visa to one of the European countries. And they just told me that the processes have been a bit tweaked, has been advanced. So these are the things we see all the time. So fake job offers. The common type of employment fraud is fake job offers. Scammers pose as reputable companies offering jobs that don't exist at all. Victims are asked to pay fees for processing, registrations, or training. Advanced fee scam. Victims are promised job in exchange for upfront payments, which is common in online job board and social media advertisements. Most times we see that. Then bogus recruitment agencies. Unregistered or fake agencies collect money from job seekers for fake job placement. And of course, they disappear after collecting this fee like a Ponzi kind of scheme. Then phishing scam. Fraudster sends email or messages pretending to be human resources representatives. They request personal information like your BVN, your NIN, bank details, or CV for identity theft. And you know what that can create? Fake interviews on training program. Candidates are invited for interviews or training per sections that end in demands for money. sometimes held in rented office space to appear legitimate. I think we're all witnesses to what the recent Chinese scam that happened within and around Abuja. And most of them, all of these, they create this kind of a template, and most of our gullible masses begin to write for employment here and there. And these are the kind of things we see. Work from home and online jobs scam. False job advertisement for remote work, often requiring payments to start popular among youths seeking flexible or online jobs. That is one of the thriving things now. They no longer ask for on-site job. They say it is online job, and most times they call it remote job or they call it hybrid. That there is no need of you coming to the point at all that you can work from wherever you are. And even training processes are carried out online. And they collect a huge lot of money from them. Unauthorized job listing on legitimate platform. Fraudsters clone website or post fake jobs on real platform, like LinkedIn, like Jobberman, and this gives a false sense of credibility. To some extent, people are even very careful with the LinkedIn page they utilize now. One of the case studies is the NECO job scam in 2022. In May 2022, Patience Adamu, a 28-year-old woman, was arrested for allegedly scamming over 50 job seekers of more than 10 million naira. She and her accomplices collected 500,000 each from the victims, promising them job placement at the National Examination Council headquarters in Mina, Niger State. This is one of the clear examples. And again, we have another case study. The next case study, please. The next slide. Then the fake, another case studies of employment fraud is the fake NSCDC recruitment in 2022. In November 2022, the Superintendent Shegu A. Odewale of the NSCDC was sentenced to 7 years imprisonment for defrauding a citizen of 100,000. Odewale had promised to secure employment for the victim with NSCDC, but failed to do so, leading to his conviction. That is another case study. Forgery and employment racketeering in 2021. In July 2021, 2 officers of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, Menace Malami and Emmanuel Salihu, were convicted for defrauding job seekers under the guise of securing employment with NSCDC. They obtained a total of 2.75 million from victims, promising them that jobs that never materialized. Ghost worker scheme in 2017. In June 2017, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission arraigned 3 individuals, Onukaogu, Onyinyechi, Esther, Ebenua Chinazor, Jennifer, and Onukaogu Joshua, for allegedly inserting their names into the Integrated Personal and Payroll Information System, IPPIS, as employees of Federal Ministry of Education and Federal Ministry of Works over 3 years. They fraudulently received salaries totaling approximately 9 million naira. Causes of employment fraud. These are the causes I attempt to itemize one by one. Number 1 is high unemployment rate. Desperation for job makes people more vulnerable to fake opportunities. Youth are especially targeted due to their large representation in the unemployment population. Number 2 is poverty and economic hardship. Many job seekers are willing to take risks or pay for job placement in hopes of escaping poverty, especially within the ecosystem we are. Lack of awareness. Many people are unaware of how to verify job offers or even recognize fraudulent schemes. Limited digital literacy in rural areas, again, add up to the problems. We have weak regulations and enforcement. Some recruitment agencies operate without proper license. Enforcement of law against fraud is slow or inconsistent. Number 5 is proliferations of social media and unregulated job platforms. All manner of social media and unregulated job platform abounds. Scammers exploit platforms like WhatsApp, Facebook, Telegram to post fake job advertisement. And lack of proper monitoring makes it easy for fraudsters to operate. Use of technology by scammers. Fraudsters use professional looking at website, email, and documents to appear legitimate. Tools like spoofed email addresses and clone websites deceive even smart job seekers. There was a time they did one like that, and I had somebody came to me and engaged his fund. And for me to even distinguish between this fake one and the real one, it was a challenge. Number 7 is corruption and insider collusion. In some cases, insider in public and private institutions leak information or assist fraudsters in scams. This is everywhere now. A little knowledge about maybe advertisement, and see it is escalated among the masses. And the next thing is that you have people engaging their fund here and there. The role of EFC in combating employment fraud. Number 1 is investigation and prosecution. Number 1 is investigation, actively investigate reported cases of employment fraud, arrest and prosecute fraudsters involved in fake recruitment scheme, and of course, collaborate with the judiciary to ensure convictions. Number 2, we do what we call public awareness campaign. We use the television, radio, social media, and town hall meetings to educate citizens on job scams. Regularly post alerts on fraudulent job seekers and recruitment scheme. Number 3, we use cybercrime monitoring. EFC cybercrime monitoring track online fraud activity and suspicious job-related website. We partner with tech platform to trace scammers through digital footprints. There is something we call in Lookout principle that every contact leaves a trace. If there is a contact at all, it leaves a trace. So tracing scammers through digital footprints is always very, 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 very important and very key. Number 4, collaboration with other agencies. We work with agencies like the Nigerian Police, the ICPC, the DSS, the NICDA, and foreign bodies. Example, the Interpol, share intelligence to bust job scams, syndicate operating across states and countries. This has been done severally. We did that in Canada, we did that in UK, and it's very helpful. Number 5 is regulatory advocacy. We recommend stricter regulations for private recruitment agencies, advises government bodies on loopholes in employment-related processes. Most of the loopholes we discover over time. We advise the agencies to cover the loopholes. The recovery of stolen funds. In some cases, EFC will help recover money lost to job scams and return the fund back to the victim. Again, we help in whistleblowing protections, encourage anonymous reporting through official hotlines that we have and platforms of the EFC, protect whistleblower to promote public operations. Let me know if you like this in bullet point slide format or a summary of visualized icon for PowerPoints or Google Slides. I'll increase it more over time and send it to you and flesh it more. Next slide, please. Challenges faced by EFC. These are our challenges. We have limited resources and manpower. We have jurisdiction issues with cybercrime. We have difficulty in tracing online scammers, difficulties in tracing them, in as much as they leave footprints, but some of them are extremely smart. They use most of the advanced tool that you really can pin down. Then we have lack of cooperation from victims due to shame or fear. Again, the legal loopholes and slow judicial processes are always there too. The collaboration way out of employment fraud, this is my thinking towards this. The AFC can collaborate with various stakeholders to combat employment fraud in Nigeria through several strategic approaches. Number one is creating a national database of verified job providers. Number two is public education campaign targeting youth and job seekers. Number three is tighter regulations of recruitment agencies. This is what is done often in place like in UK. They have very tight regulations of recruitment agencies. Number four, whistleblower programs, encouraging whistleblowers to report fraudulent activities and ensuring their protections. This can help uncover hidden cases of employment fraud. If they are assured, believe me, they will come with several, they forward a lot of intelligence for you to track the scammers. Partnership with employers organizations. Collaborating with groups like the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association to address fraudulent practices in employment, i.e. developing program of this nature should always be organized between NECA and EFC to tackle issues like payroll fraud, identity thefts, among others. This is a laudable program, and I want to advise that we should not sleep with this. Public awareness campaign, educating the public about employment fraud through workshops, through seminars and media campaign. This can help individuals recognize and avoid fraudulent scheme. The next, please.
This meeting is being recorded.
Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Are we together? Are we still together, Femi?
I can hear you very well.
Are we still together, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
NECA representative.
The NECA representative, please, can you still project as a round-off?
I believe maybe it's that person's network.
I should think so.
Okay, they're coming up again. Okay.
Okay. Now, limited resources, like I say, these are the challenges that are faced by EFC: limited resources and manpower, jurisdictional issues with cyber crimes, difficulty in tracing. The divisional issue is very key for countries that are not among the UNCAC communities. Intelligence sharing is a problem. Investigation that is cross-border on cybercrime issue is a problem. So that is why we have one of our challenges as jurisdictional issues. The collaborative way out of employment fraud is technology and innovation. Leveraging technology to monitor and prevent employment fraud, such as using advanced systems to detect payroll fraud, i.e. the integrated personal and payroll information system. Again, we need plenty of collaboration with international agencies. Partnering with foreign law enforcement and anti-corruption agencies to tackle cross-border employment fraud and recover stolen assets is very key. One of the borderline is that it's not all the countries we looked at, or we have cross-border investigations that are part of the UNCAC community. So having intelligence shared is a problem. Then strengthening legal framework, working with lawmakers to create stricter regulations and penalties for employment fraud is very essential. These measures, combined with active stakeholder engagement, can significantly reduce employment fraud in Nigeria. And I think this is one of the key strategies. What do you think of this strategy? Next slide. I want to conclude by saying employment fraud is an increasing threat in Nigeria. While the EFC continue to play a vital role in tackling these issues, greater support and collaboration are essential. I like the collaborative efforts by NECA, especially this creating of awareness and the rest, behavioral change and so many other things. Again, combating this menace requires a united front, the government, the private sector, and every individual. And every individual have a part to play. And I want to advise that there is a need for us to join hands to protect the aspiration of honest job seekers. And of course, restore the integrity of our nation. Cleansing Nigerians' image from damage caused by fraudulent actors operating under the guise of employment is not a day thing. But I strongly believe we'll get there by having this collaborative effort. Thank you all for listening. And I'd like to entertain questions or observations at this level. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Joseph, for that very, very insightful session. On our agenda, we have a time allotted for question and answer. We'll be taking questions from participants, and we'll be reading it out for responses from the speaker and facilitator. Just after your section, we're supposed to entertain the discussant session. So we'd like to know if you still have more things to say, but immediately after the discussant session, we'll be having question and answer session. Dr. Joseph?
No, I think I think you've spent some time for question and answers. I think I'll wait patiently for that season so that we can look at all of those things jointly to save time. Yes.
All right, sir. Thank you very much for your session. And I would like to encourage participants, if you have your questions, kindly drop them on the chat box so that we can begin collating the question for the question and answer session. Going next on our agenda is our discussant. We'll be bringing up our first discussants for the discussant session. And we have today, as one of our discussants, Mrs. Chizoba Mujeku, FCIPM, GPHR. Mrs. Chizoba is a seasoned HR and transformation expert with over 35 years of experience across consulting, telecoms, finance, and public service. She has held key leadership roles, including Chief Human Resource Officer at ECOWAS and at the Central Bank of Nigeria, where she also served as the Chief Learning Officer, CLO. Currently, she is a principal at Depth Android Consulting. She leads strategic initiatives in HR transformation, leadership development, and organizational change. She has also worked with Accenture and MTN Group and served on the board of NSITF, that's the Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund, and as chair of the Audit Committee. Mrs. Chizoba is widely respected for her passion for people development and sustainable transformation. And it is an honor to have her here with us today discussing this very, very important, or having this very, very important conversation. So colleagues on the call, participants, I would like us to give a warm welcome to Mrs. Chizoba Mujeku. Just drop an emoji of applause. Mrs. Chizoba, over to you, ma. Kindly share your screen. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I will, let me see. Okay, it says only one person can share at a time. Are we ready? Okay, thank you. I'm just going to continue from where Dr. Joseph probably ended. And first of all, I'd like to thank NECA for this opportunity given to us to engage and have a conversation with everyone on this very important topic. I would also like to thank the EFCC for setting the ball rolling in terms of the job scams and as one of the employment frauds that we have. And then, we can then expand the conversation in terms of all the other kinds of employment fraud and what, the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management is doing and the kinds of collaboration that's required to be able to deal with some of these issues. I see my brother from the TUC, and it's good to have many perspectives to this conversation. So I'm going to talk about, in addition to the job scam, talk maybe a little bit more about the other kinds of employment fraud, which is credential forgery, the payroll fraud, which the EFCC has alluded to. There's this recruitment scams, and then there is the identity fraud, which is about using somebody else's credentials. So for the recruitment scam, some of the that we see is fake job offers, of course, bribery for job, and sometimes, what I call also fake employment offer. Not because the employment offer is fake, because the people have no intention of providing what they have already promised with a fake offer. For the recruitment scam, I think they are a lot more difficult to deal with. And the reason why they are a lot difficult to deal with is because a lot of them are behind screens, online, you are not able to trace the people. But I'm sure if you check online, there are quite a lot of scamming agencies that they've been operating since 1990, when, 1989, when I had my first job, sitting in places like Ikeja. If you Google those sites, you're likely to see them sitting in Ikeja, in Ogba, in Agege, in Yaba. And these guys have been operating from these addresses for a very, very, very long time. And you just need to do it to Google. And if you Google, these organizations, you will see that these organizations, you see that organizations have been operating for a long time and have been operating freely this long. So there's got to be a concerted effort, to try and raid some places in order for people to see that, the agencies as government, we are dealing with some of this stuff. To agree that it requires a multi-agency approach to busting quite a few of these. From the CIPM point of view, these are not our members. Our members, working in organized sectors, just like, for NECA, it's only registered members of NECA or registered members of CIPM that we will have some control over. And so even when we get the reports, we usually won't point people to links on these recruitment scams that shows clearly that they are scams. But, with the unemployment rate, people are looking to getting jobs and getting employment. Even in 2024, and this is purely for the public sector because it is very concerning. Sheikh Mustafa on this platform said is because we do have a lot of opaque actions and activities in the public sector recruitment space. People can scam other people within public recruitment. Looking at examples that the EFC has provided, they are public sector organizations. But I think we all missed a major headline. I think it was in June 2020, when the Federal Civil Service discovered that they had about 1,618 people with fake employment letters. And then the question will be, how did it happen? And that can only happen even when we try to use technology, using technology. When technology does not talk to itself, in terms of the way application process, the screening process, the process, and then transferring those successful people into employment of any of those ministries. So there was this report of employment letters, and it had gone on for a few years, then they had the people go. So the bottom line, one is, if we understand as job seekers that it's our responsibility also to do due diligence, as much as, you know, the agencies, the security agencies, the following up on some phishing sites and then these sites. It's also our responsibility to do due diligence and to provide that support to us, so other people who are looking for jobs do their due diligence. It's also a responsibility at the federal public and even for private sector to make sure that when we are corporate identity, we've got to have strong identity and have where we advertise our jobs. And if we do, like when I was in Central Bank and I hear that Central Bank is recruited, we quickly put message that we are not recruited or we are not going through a recruitment exercise. People are not camped in that process. Then we also need to, if we are these technologies, got to be end-to-end from the advert to application process, through the interviews, and then through the hire process. And then, like Kim will say, even with this, if you do have any reports you want to make, please make it to the CIPM through info@ipm.org. Please make those reports. We will usually work with NECA and work with PFCC and the police and transfer the reports to that. Very quickly, before my 2 minutes is over, for credential forgery as an employment fraud, we all encourage that when we have a credential this credential forgery, it happens because there is weak verification systems, there's poor data management, there's corruption and pollution, there's unemployment, and then there's desperation. Now, when we have the credential forgery, we always please for organizations, you've got to strengthen. You have to strengthen your due diligence process. You've got to strengthen your competency and character, and that's your background check. If you have a very strong code of conduct if you have a very, CM has a very strong code of conduct. It's instilled training and certification for our members. We always insist on background, and for the Central Bank, we were doing drug testing. And for specific positions in the Central Bank, we did as much as what the street level checks. And in the street level checks, that we found out that the people that were planning to hire had about 3 cards each, and the neighbors could not explain what it was that they were doing. And here, recruitment application, they were supposed to be fresh hires. And so, in the conversation and much deeper, we found out things that we did not, we be condoning in the organization. So we are as CIP, very strong advocates of background checks and HR due diligence, and also encourage individuals please do their background checks and due diligence, even for employment practices. For organizations, we've got to strengthen the capacity building for risk management and internal controls. So make sure that you have policies that help to prevent fraud, policies that help to prevent forgeries, policies that help to prevent these identity theft. And that means that, with a risk segregation of duties, audits, make sure that we're doing risk management and also using the audit report. Most important, deal decisively. Don't leave things to fester, because as it things to fester, the story now goes out. The organization have controls. The organization controls are weak. You can actually get it. You can pay people. You can get it, and the organization will keep you there for 10 years or 15 years before they find out if they will ever find out. And then as people, we also instill within our members is a level, high level of competence and managerial courage to the point where if we do find out that there are people in the organization or people who are to high people in the society and organization, we should actually have the courage to speak up, see ties with that individual. If possible, times we have it in the past, pushed for the recommendation of leadership to leave the organization because there are unethical things that they have done. As people, as individuals, whether we are speakers or human resources people or law enforcement agencies, the CIPM is ready, ever ready to collaborate with agencies, have discussions, strengthen through our code of conduct the actions that we take on our members who are reported to be involved or to support the organization in any form of fraudulent activities that are going on in the organization. I'll stop here and take questions question time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you for your insight into this conversation. Like I said to our speaker, we have a session for question and we're collating the questions as participants are dropping them on the chat box. We'll be reading them out for responses from our speaker and discussants. I think if there is one thing that has been re-emphasized over time in the course of our session is the need for collaboration. And just now, one of the directors from a key ministry just also emphasized the need for collaboration in the chat box. And I think that is one key word we all will be going back with. Moving further, we'll be receiving another very, very astute expert who will also be sharing another perspective to this conversation. He's nobody but the Secretary General of the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, Comrade Nuhu Toro. Comrade Toro brings over 2 decades of experience in trade union movement, having served in various departments at the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, particularly in organizing and industrial relations. Before joining the TUC, he was an alumnus of the Global Labour University, a passionate organizer of training. Comrade Toro has participated in numerous international training on trade union rights and collective bargaining. He's also a member of the Global Organizing Academy, known for his drive, creativity, and commitment to workers' rights. It is an honor for us to have him sharing his insights into this conversation. So please, once again, colleagues and participants, I would like us to give a warm welcome to Comrade Nuhu Toro as he shares his own perspective to the conversation. Thank you. Can I get emojis of applause for Comrade Nuhu Toro? Comrade, over to you, sir.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now, sir.
Can you hear me, please?
We can hear you now, comrade, sir.
Hello?
Hello, comrade.
Hello?
We can hear you. We can hear you, comrade.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think I'm having, technology is creating some tension here, but I think I am good to go. So, thank you to thank most sincerely the organizers of this program for this wonderful opportunity to rub mind on issues or ways to tackle the menace of employment fraud in public and private sectors. However, for the purpose of this interaction, and particularly from the standpoint of organized labor, I'm going to speak relatively on the Trade Union Congress of Nigerians intervention under the leadership of Comrade Engineer Festus Osifo on the subject of discourse. Distinguished guests, it is important for me to stress that employment fraud is not only criminal, is not only a criminal act, but a gross violation of rights and dignity of workers anywhere and job seekers as well. It undermines decent work principle, promotes inequality, and entrenches corruption in the labor market. For us in the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, there are key concerns. Number one, violation of workers' rights. Now, fraudulent recruitment denies workers the right to fair and transparent access to employment opportunities, which is a violation of their right. Two, it creates exploitation of vulnerable groups. For instance, young graduate women and the unemployed who are disproportionately affected, often coerced into paying for jobs or falling victims of fake schemes. Again, weak institutional response. The Trade Union Congress of Nigeria is of the opinion that trade union, we view the lack of decisive action by relevant government agencies as a major enabler of employment fraud. Erosion of mediocrity. Bribery and favoritism undermine this professionalism and productivity, which trade unions strive day in, day out to promote. Now, what are some of the challenges we've identified as workers' representative? Of course, limited access to official recruitment information, especially in rural areas. You know, when opportunities abound or present itself, it is always very difficult for this information to get to the rural areas. Again, uncoordinated effort among enforcement agencies, poor data on employment fraud trend and victim statistics, intimidation of silence whistleblowers within the organization. Of course, against this background, we are proposing some actions and collaboration. I've heard collaboration severally. It turned out to be the key word because it is when we come together that we'll be able to confront this menace. Now, advocacy for public reform. The unions in Nigeria will push for laws that make employment fraud a punishable offense with clearly defined sanctions. It is because people get away with it that they think it's just one of those things. So as part of our corporate social responsibility, the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria will advocate for policy reform to ensure that stiffer measures are set in place or put in place to deal with those situations. Number two, promotion of transparent recruitment practices. Now, through collective bargaining and social dialogues, union will demand fairness and openness in hiring procedures. If these procedures are open, people will have a level playing ground to be recruited, irrespective of who they know or how they get there. Again, workers and youth education for us in the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria is key. We collaborate with young bodies, educational institutions, and monitoring and reporting mechanism is essential. We will in virtually all our affiliate and state council so that whistleblowers with protection mechanisms are adequately protected. We have collaborated with anti-graft agencies like the EFCC, ICPC. The Trade Union Congress will strive to collaborate even more with these anti-graft agencies to ensure that that culprit Nigerians are prosecuted, especially those fraudulent recruiters are prosecuted and taken where they ought to be. We will also demand for regulation of private recruiters. Labor unions will continue to press for licensing and oversight of private employment agencies ensuring that they operate within the legal framework and ethical standard in line with global best practices. It is important to stress that for us, as Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, the fight against employment fraud is a fight for social justice. It is indeed a fight for decent work. It is a fight for national development. Only through inclusive, transparent, and right-based employment system can we restore the lost glory in this perspective, and the dignity at the end will be upheld. I wish to assure all our listeners that we will strive to collaborate essentially with the anti-graft agency and like-minded organizations to ensure that invariably at the end of the day, we tackle head-on the menace of employment fraud in both public and private sectors in Nigeria. Finally, I would like to commend the DG of NECA, Brother Wale Smart, for this laudable initiative. It's highly commendable, and we will continue to collaborate with all allies towards ensuring that tackling the menace of employment fraud in Nigeria, both in the private and public sector, is prioritized. Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you very much, comrade, for that very insightful presentation. I think one key takeaway for me is that the fight against employment fraud is a fight for social justice and indeed a fight for decent work. Thank you for that contribution, sir. Moving on, we have another discussant who will also be weighing in on this conversation. And I also want to encourage participants, and not a robust conversation is happening on the chat space. You can weigh in on this conversation by sharing possibly your contributions or questions that will be attended to by the list of experts we have on the call. So kindly just go to the chat box, drop your questions. Thank you once again, comrade, for sharing the labor perspective to this conversation. Moving on, we have another very astute expert who will be sharing, weighing in into this conversation. We have Mrs. Taiwo Dayo Abaton, FCIPM. She's a regional HR head for Sub-Saharan Africa at VFX. With over 25 years of experience in human resources, Taiwo has led diverse multi-generational teams across sectors including insurance, healthcare, consulting, and outsourcing. Her expertise encompasses leadership development, organizational culture, and employee well-being. Recently, she was conferred as a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria. Taiwo is also a certified coach, trainer, and speaker, passionate about building high-performance culture and guiding professionals towards purposeful growth. Colleagues and participants on the call, can you kindly join me give a warm welcome, a warm virtual welcome to Mrs. Taiwo Dayo Abaton, FCIPM. You're welcome, ma. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. To confirm, you can hear me, and I would.
We can hear you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me quickly share my screen. And good afternoon, everyone. Happy to be part of this conversation. A very germane issue. Not only I see it not, it's a national issue that I believe needs to be addressed urgently. And appreciation to NECA for this, for convening this program to address a matter that strikes the heart of our national development, and that's employment fraud. Today, I'll be speaking on the issues, the challenges, and importantly, how do we collaborate? What are the practical steps we can take to ensure that we're able to eliminate this menace of employment fraud in both the public and private sector? Once again, I want to appreciate NECA for this opportunity. And then to the lead speaker, Mr. Joseph from the FCC, thank you for setting the ball rolling. And to my co-panelists, thank you for your contributions so far. So I would just like to put some context into things, just to let us know that employment fraud is no longer a marginal issue. It is systemic and very awful at the moment. We can't shy away from this. It's a systemic threat. It's affecting organizational credibility, it's reducing efficiency, and it's limiting opportunities for qualified individuals. People are scared, and they're saying, will I be the next, will I be the next victim? And it's also tending towards brain drain, because I would rather want to go to an environment whereby I know it's a level playing ground, I'm safe to apply, and I have the confirmation that I will get the job. So yes, tending towards a bit of brain drain. In Nigeria and other developing economies, is contributing significantly to corruption and weak institutional trust. Typical Nigerian doesn't even believe in the system again. So how do we do? What do we do about this? And what are the key forms? All the panelists have actually mentioned this. There's credential forgery. They have ghost workers. We didn't speak about nepotism and favoritism, which is happening a lot more even within the public sector. A lot of nepotism, a lot of favoritism, unfair hiring practices. And then we have the recruitment scam and syndicates, which our lead speaker from EFCC spoke about. What are the challenges? There's several challenges in tackling this. We have weak verification systems. So how do we verify? Let's take an example. Some organizations will say they want to do criminal checks for their people. How do we verify? Do we have a system we can check that we can log into and find out where these things are done? A lot of insider collusion is also happening. And for people who are aware that these things are happening, either in the public or the private sector, there's poor whistleblowing culture. Nobody wants to be seen as, to be there as a victim for speaking up. Many people who are aware of fraud are silent out of fear of retaliation and also inaction. And then, of course, with the rise in technology, there's also a rise in digital fraud. Scammers now leverage big time online on online job platforms. You see these elaborate websites that look real. And then social media, we have WhatsApp groups, we have emails, we have Nairaland, a lot of platforms where they post all these jobs, basically just exploiting technology. Another area I want us to look at is the cost to a society. It's costing us something as a nation, as a society. Employment scam and fraud is costing us something. There's economic waste. There's decline in productivity. I mentioned the fact that we have talent drain. Talents will go to other environments, other climes, whereby it's easier for them to sort themselves out and get the real jobs. And then either public and private, there's reputational damage to our institutions. So what do we do? How do we handle this? Practically, what's the way forward? I believe that if it's possible, we should have a centralized credential verification. I know some industries whereby this occurs, whereby if an employee or if someone has applied, for example, with fake credentials, it's posted there, you can track. A collaborative solution would be to have a centralized credential verification system, whereby we can go there, everybody can go there and collaborate and check. And I believe that NECA can take the lead on this. Can we have technology-driven systems? A lot of awareness campaign. I love what EFCC is currently doing, but we can do more, both in the private and in the public sector. There should be awareness campaigns. We should have multi-sectorial task forces. How do we harness all the information that we have across the various sectors to ensure that we're able to handle this? Now, I want to talk a bit about the centralized credential verification. We have government agencies like Ministry of Education, NYSC, and professional bodies. We have to collaborate on this. There's CIPM, there's NYSC, there's NECA. There has to be we can centralize employment verification. A lot of people are carrying fake documents. I've seen somebody who worked for 20 years in an organization, all using fake documents. We've read on social media, people who claim to be medical doctors are performing operations and surgeries, and they never went to medical school. And so how do we ensure that we have a centralized credential verification system? There has to be collaboration. We need to have technology data integration. Can we have a way we can have biometrics, blockchain data backed credentials, digital IT systems? This can help to significantly reduce identity fraud. There has to be public and private partnerships to secure the development and integration of proper HR systems. And this is still talking about technology. In terms of the awareness, there must be awareness, I've mentioned about that, to educate job seekers on how to identify employment scam. media, civil society, I love what the TUC is doing, and professional networks should lead. How do we demystify recruitment systems and processes? What are the things we should look out for? That's the awareness that we need to do. And then I'm talking about the multi-sector, multi-stakeholder task forces. How do we strengthen our legal reforms? How do we protect our whistleblowers? How do we develop and encourage a strong framework in ensuring that this may look audacious, but I believe we should look at this. Can we have a national employment charter that sets clear standards for ethical hiring practices in all sectors, both public and private? It could be a long-term project, but it's something I believe we could look out to, a national employment integrity charter. And at the end of the day, NECA holds a strong voice in terms of this, and I believe that NECA can take all these solutions forward. Now, my conclusion, I want us to understand this is not just an HR issue, it is a governance issue. It's about the kind of society we want to build. So what kind of society do I want to build? What kind of society do you want to build? It's a governance issue. Companies should commit to transparent, fair, and fraud-proof hiring processes, both public and private sector. I don't want to overflow that. We mentioned that. And to my audience, we all have a role to play, whether you're a regulator, an employer of labor, whether you're a job seeker. And if you're none of this, even if you're a citizen of Nigeria, we have a job to play to restore the trust in the world of work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ma, for your contribution. Key issues are being raised by this last presentation. One of it for me, well, I think we'll get to that. Like I said earlier, we can drop our questions, contributions on the chat box. We're collating all of these and we'll be reading it out for the speakers to attend to. Thank you very much once again, Ma, Mrs. Taiwo Dayo Abaton, for that very, very insightful presentation into this conversation that we are having. Last but not the least, we'll be welcoming our Director General, Mr. Adewale Smart Oyerinde, who will be more like putting a cap to this conversation. A lot has been said. And for us at the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, we'll be picking some of these key strategic inputs that has been made and building a conversation around it going forward, a definitive conversation to see that something is done about this issue of employment fraud. As it is generally seen, it does not only affect the employees seeking employment, it also has a far-reaching impact on the economy. It has a far-reaching impact on the image of our nation, Nigeria. Quickly, I would like to bring up my Director General, Mr. Adewale Smart, but just like I have done for other speakers, I will also like to just quickly run through a short profile. Mr. Adewale Smart is the Director General and Chief Executive of the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, NECA, which is the foremost business membership organization in Nigeria. Mr. Adewale Smart, with over 20 years of experience in human resources, industrial relations, and organizational development. In his role as the Director General of NECA, he has led strategic growth initiatives for over 4,000 employers and 34 sectorial federations across various sectors in Nigeria. He is a strong advocate for decent work. And during the contribution made by Comrade, he emphasized one key takeaway for me, that the fight against employment fraud is a fight to promote decent work and a fight to promote social justice. And it is interesting to note that our DG is a strong advocate for decent work, social justice, and inclusive development, aligning with the Sustainable Development Goal, SDG. His leadership extends to international platform as a member of the governing board of the International Labour Organization, ILO. He also serves on quite a number of boards in key agencies in Nigeria. Mr. Oyerinde is recognized for his commitment to ethical leadership, sustainable business practices. He's an author, public speaker, youth advocate, contributing to policy discussion and initiatives that promote fair labor practices and inclusive economic growth. Once again, colleagues and participants, I would like us to give a warm virtual welcome to my boss, the Director General of Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, Mr. Adewale Smart. Over to you, sir. Hello, sir. We can hear you, sir. Hello, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now, sir.
Hello?
Hello, sir. We can hear you now, sir.
All right. Thank you very much for having me also. Thanks first to the chairman of EFCC. Thank you very much, sir, for your partnership. And thank you for your collaboration in driving this conversation to this very fruitful point. Thanks to the panelists, also our colleagues and TDA, our colleagues from the Trade Union Congress, Communotoro, and our colleague from the CIPM. Thank you very much for leading this conversation. And quite a lot has been said, quite a lot has been enunciated with very deep insight from participants. And I trust that we've all learned the new dimensions of employment fraud and the consequences of this very grave vice on the nation, as it were. Sometimes we think it's just an issue for organizations to deal with. We think it's just an indiscretion for an employee that can be forgiven. Sometimes we think it's just one of those things, one of those cultural things that we can let go. But from the conversation this afternoon and the outcomes that NECA will definitely take up, just like Didier mentioned, a central verification platform for employees, something that NECA will definitely champion, reaching out to necessary agencies and government ministries to drive together. So we realize it's a huge vice that all of us must address, and we must address it frontally. So from my little research and from our meeting with the EFCC chairman a few weeks ago, and this issue of employment fraud came up. I initially thought it's just it's predominant within the context of the public sector, the goods workers, predominant within the context of the private employment agencies of not really private employment agencies, but supposed private employment agencies scamming unsuspecting Nigerians within the context of job placement. We thought it's only about employees coming in with with forged certificates. We thought it's just about employees doing 2 or 3 jobs at the same time when the employer is left in the dark. We thought it's just about employers not doing the right thing within the context of their engagement with employees. We thought it's limited to those frameworks. But research have shown that it expands far beyond our comprehension. And the implication for all of us, the reputational damage for all of us is also quite huge. And that is what struck our interest to say, look, let's collaborate with the EFCC in the context of this engagement. The engagement and the collaboration will continue. NECA through its responsible business conduct policy working group, we continuously champion this conversation so that progressively we get more employers doing the right thing, and we run those that are involved in this employment fraud enterprise. We run them out of business and run them out of business as quickly as possible. We also want to commend the Trade Union Congress for its efforts, and we also hoping that education of workers will also be stepped up at that level, so that if the employers are educated, the workers are educated, all of us are educated within the context of our roles, our responsibilities, it become easy for all of us not to just be passive players, but be active players and advocate for against everything that connotes employment fraud. So it's our commitment, a commitment that NECA is making, that employers will, real employers, our members, will not be caught napping within the context of going against the law in this issue of employment fraud. Where there are many employers out of our scope, and we are really doing a lot to also get them, expose them to the necessary authorities, expose them to the Ministry of Labor, expose them to agencies that have the responsibility to supervise, to enforce, and to discipline. And now with our partnership with the EFCC, also expose them to the long arms of the law, so that all of us together will continuously sanitize this environment to make it good for businesses to operate, to make it peaceful for workers to work and earn their pay, and to make it easy for this economy to achieve its full responsibility. So I want to thank colleagues once again that have played a very important part in this conversation. While Femi will go to the question and answer, because of my current location with very difficult network access, I just want to quickly drop this and thank the chairman of the EFs once again. Thank the representative commandant of the academy for the beautiful work that he has done with us today, and hoping that we'll continuously deepen our engagement and partnership in sanitizing the whole ecosystem of employment and work within the context of this country. Thank you, TDA, once again for always sacrificing for us. Thank you, Krometoro, and thank you, Ms. Mojoki, for also your support. And thanks to our partner, our very important partner, the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, because we all must join hand in sanitizing this environment. CIPM, NECA, and all other like-minded bodies, we all must join hand to sanitize our ecosystem from anything that connotes or anybody that has the potential to compromise the integrity of the work and employment ecosystem. So thank you once again, and we really appreciate it. I'll revert back to Femi even as we take questions. But suffice to say that thank you also to the over 200 participants on this call. To the over 200 participants on this call. This affirms the importance that this topic is not only for now, but it's actually overdue. Thank you very much for joining us, and also thank you to colleagues that made this happen at the back end from the secretariat. Thank you. So let me hand over back to you to coordinate the question and answer.
Thank you very much, DG. Thank you for that pledge of commitment to continually lead this conversation and campaign for solution on this very, very disturbing matter of employment fraud that is beginning to take a toll on our employment ecosystem. Next on our agenda is the question and answer, and we have quite a number of questions that has been dropped on the chat box. Out of all the conversation, we have 7 questions that is targeted at different resource persons that have shared their perspective to the conversation this afternoon. I will be reading out all these questions, and we give an opportunity to our speakers as it affects them. They just address the question. Number 1 question. This question is addressed to the EFCC, and I believe Dr. Oguje is still on the call with us. And the question is, what is the EFCC doing on the law to protect whistleblowers as a way to strengthen the efforts of your agency on fraud and related activities? I take the question again. What is the EFCC doing on the law to protect whistleblowers as a way to strengthen the efforts of your agency on fraud and related activities? I'll go to the next question. I'll read out all the questions and then give room for our resource persons, our speakers and discussants to attend to this question. Question 2, it says, please, may I know which sector has more employment fraud in Nigeria between the public, is it the public sector or the private sector, and why? Which of the sector, the public or the private sector, which of the sector is more affected by employment fraud and why? The next question, question 3, is there is a trend in the public sector about giving employment slots to particular individuals in different ministries, and they end up selling the slots. A particular one that I am aware of is the slot was given to an individual and she sold it to her friend who has been using the slot owner's credential, not her own credential, but the slot owner's credential, who has been using her credential. She can't use her own name. She's actually a graduate pool, but unemployment made her lose her identity. What advice can you give to this person to regain her identity and avoid prosecution for impersonation for so long? I take the question again. This is a very, very case study. There's a trend in the public sector about giving employment slots to particular individuals in different ministries, and they end up selling the slot. A particular one that I'm aware of is the slot was given to an individual and she sold it to her friend who has been using her credential. She can't use her own name. That is the person that bought the slot from the friend who the slot was given to. He's actually a graduate, but unemployment made her lose her identity. What advice can you be given to this person to regain her identity and avoid prosecution for impersonation, if it is possible to avoid prosecution for impersonation? Question 4. Not once did the presenter from EFCC, speaking of Dr. Guje, mention the importance and the role of the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment in reducing recruitment fraud. It only goes to show poor collaboration between government institutions. EFCC should engage and collaborate widely with other government organizations towards strategically reducing recruitment scams. Pursuing single occurrence of scams at a time will surely not solve the problem. A holistic approach is required with employers, workers, representative, and government being part of the development process of such strategies. Now, there's a footnote from one of our speakers, and the question is, the footnote is, it has to be multi-pronged. Can the Ministry of Labor regulate this space? That is the question. In terms of collaboration against employment fraud, can the Ministry of Labor regulate this space? Question 5. Good day, our able speaker. The discussion of today does it also involve employment seekers coming to seek employment with fake results or using another person's results to acquire a job? What can be said about this? Is that an employment fraud? Is a question from a honest participant. Please, can we have employer-employee regulation protect the interest of both parties? Employer-employee regulation. Please, can we have employer-employee regulation to protect both parties? A colleague once got a job offer. Now, this is the key, the case study he has under that question. A colleague once got a job offer in an acclaimed oil and gas company, only to realize it was a recruitment fraud where the owner of the business hire and fire at will without recourse to labor laws, always recruiting on LinkedIn, non-ethical practice, unprofessional and non-conventional directives, threatening the professional ethics of the professionals engaged. The colleague resigned without an offer and was out of job for over a year, which he later realized that he was the third professional to have held the role within the year, while it was just mid-year. Situations like these should be reported to sanction the erring parties in such instance and also bring awareness for unsuspecting employee to avoid falling victim of such employer, which boosts job security and confidence. Last question, how can the TUC leverage technology like data analytics or mobile apps to detect and report employment fraud? Thank you very much to all the questions asked. I turn the table now to our speakers for their response to these questions. Dr. Joseph, Mrs. Daya Baton, Comrade Nuhu Toro, my DJ, Mr. Dewali Smart, and also Mrs. Chizoba Mujeku. The floor is open for your response to these questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
So I think okay, thank you, Ma.
Okay.
Thank you, Ma. Go ahead, Ma.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to address the question around the lady who has been using another person's credentials to work. The person asked if it was employment fraud. Yes, it is. And ideally, that person should be arrested and prosecuted. And for you who is aware, we also mention the fact that you should whistleblow. You should be able to write an anonymous email or be able to notify the right authorities about this. It is very wrong, it's unethical, and it's unacceptable. So whoever is doing that, if the person is your friend, you can advise the person to maybe resign, because if he or she is caught in a typical and a perfect environment, the person will be prosecuted. So that's my own response with regards to that issue of somebody using somebody's certificates to work. Thank you.
And so TDA, just to ride on that, I see that a lot in Nigeria, where we become aware of things. We do not realize that we should actually whistleblow, because then we are accessory to the facts. We see wrong things, we all keep quiet, and allow things to slide. In other climes, people will say something about it. And because we don't say things about things like this, then people then go on and continue to do things. But then it underscores the importance of technology in organizations, and also underscores the importance of verification. If there was a verification that was done, it would have become very, very apparent that one, the individual, that this was an identity fraud. Two, two is that the person didn't go through a recruitment process, because if we do put in the structures in the public sector, the way that some of the private sector, because not all private sector, we always assume that private sector is organized, private sector is managed by NECA and organized, in terms of the structure. There are many fly-by-nights, there are many midnight employers that are in the unregulated space. NECA doesn't know about them, they are not part of NECA, they are not even part of the national structure. So when we think of private sector, we will think about the organized private sector, the kinds of things that they do, international organizations and the kinds of processes. And for me, moving from private sector to public sector, that was something that I found very weird. I found it very weird, that we didn't have as much as the rigor that we used to put into hiring people, and that consideration that hiring is the first process of bringing people into the organization and can, make or mar every organization. And so, as director at both WECA and at both ECOWAS and at CBN, the first thing was to try and strengthen that relation. That's the way we were doing our things. And you then have all these other government agencies, and even, I don't want to shake and I don't want to break the table, at these sessions, by naming some of the things that we've seen. But you find some of these agencies, you find the arms of government interfering in the recruitment process of public sector. And so it leaves it opaque, it leaves it opaque, it leaves it, open to corruption, open to all sorts of practices. And then that you're trying to do the right things. But the people that you are protecting, which is the potential, that's the candidates, the potential employees, and even your own employer, everybody then guards up against you like you're the one who's doing the wrong thing. So we have a way of punishing people who are doing the right things, people who want to do the right things, and then elevating those who are doing the wrong things. Why? Because the people who are the perpetrators are, benefiting, from the system. And so on that question of public sector, private sector, who is the one that is most affected or prone to employment fraud? Until we do that research, we can't say. We can't say the ones we are hearing is public sector. But there's, as the stories are coming out now, there is a lot of private sector issues in terms of employment fraud. And the thing is, if you are not doing your due diligence from the employer point of view and from the employee point of view, then all of us fall victim of these situations. So I really can't say it's more a private sector, it's more a public sector. All we just know is that there is employment fraud, and we've got to find ways of dealing with that employment fraud. And for the person who asked, if you make me an offer and I don't come into your organization, is that employment fraud? No, it's that you change your mind. You've changed your mind, go back to the employer, you're not resuming. Just the same way the employer tomorrow, if they close the organization, won't recruit you if the organization is closed. But be open to your employer, to the person who has hired you, to tell the person that you're not coming and the reasons why you're not coming. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the response. Thank you, Ma. I think we have about 3 questions already responded to. I'll just reiterate 2 of those questions that are left. One of the questions has been attended to by one of our participants, who is a director in the ministry, on the chat box. He has responded that, yes, the Ministry of Labor grants recruitment licenses and enforces the labor law while maintaining strong collaboration with workers and employers representative. The ministry on its own may not be able to regulate the space, as the question says, and which is why collaboration is very, very important. 2 questions that are yet to be attended to is the first question that was addressed to the EFCC. What is the EFCC doing on the law or by the law to protect whistleblowers as a way to strengthen effort of the agency on fraud and related activities? And the second question addressed to the TUC, to Comrade Toro, how can the TUC leverage technology like data analytics or mobile apps to detect and report employment fraud? I will call on either Comrade Nuhutoro or Dr. Oguje to kindly respond to this question that has been raised.
Thank you very much. And I think it's something that is in the public space, and everybody can look around it, or you can just research around it. The whistleblowing act has been there, and again, there is more impetus to the legal framework in 1st July 2024 that protects whistleblower. The Blowers Protection Act has been there since 2012. And now this legal framework, this emerging legal framework gave it more impetus, commenced 1st July 2024. It's something you can it has a very strong fulcrum in the protections of whistleblower. I wouldn't want to speak too much to that. I think most of the whistleblowers, I think they have protection around them. And, it's something that is done intelligently. So nobody exposes you. You only give an intelligent information. And again, that is processed into adducible fact, and we work by them. The question I would like to look at critically, I think, is that one that came from someone that said, what
Doctor, you're muted, sir.
can you hear me now?
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Can hear you now, sir.
Okay. I have spoken elaborately to the whistle blowing, and I said that there is more impetus to that with the commencement
Yes,
of.
sir. We heard that, sir.
Okay. Now, the one I want to talk about is about this the question somebody raised, very fundamental issue. That I said EFC in the entire presentation, we didn't talk about labor collaborating with labor in our presentation. Now, this the entire issue, if you look at it, it's we house in labor. It will house in labor. Now, labor, if there are issues around them and these issues are criminal in nature, or they want a preventive mechanism in that direction, I think they are the one to, like NECA is rightly doing now in creating awareness, they are the one to petition EFC as to the direction they want us to have collaborative approach with them, or whatever strategy they want us to design with them. If it is something that has to be awareness, they are the one to petition us and say, see, this we want to, can we jointly have a kind of program in this area? Can we work collaboratively in having issues like this at the front burner? I think they should be the one. Otherwise, our own is just, if you look at the mandate of EFC, financial and economic crime. Of course, we look at the criminal element in this concern. But if there are things more to do, or there are, if research has shown that there is a growing concern in this direction, and it's completely warehoused in the labor, I think labor should be the one to draw up a collaborative process with EFCC. I think this provides a good platform for us to have a discussion like this. And again, it has bring to the front burner the essence of having collaborative efforts amongst ourselves, especially interagencies, collaborative efforts among themselves in curbing menace of issues like this, whether it is criminal or whether it's preventive in our strategic approaches. I think they should look inward, and if there is anything they want us to do, I think they should present it as a very good piece in this in that direction. I love the way the DG captioned his presentation. He said he met with the executive chairman and they were discussing some things, and that all of this discussion now came from completely was activated from their discussion. So I think if there are issues with labor and there is a need for us to look into, or other agencies for us to look at their various worries, and again have a kind of collaborative processes in seeing how to curb or mitigate, I think they should be they should bring it to the front burner and we'll look at it like this, the way we are looking at NECA. Thank you very much, please.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for that response. We are taking notes, and we are sure all relevant stakeholders on the call are also taking notes. Thank you, sir. Comrade, I believe you heard my question. The question that was actually asked to the TUCN. So over to you, sir.
Loud and clear. Thank you very much. Well, the question is, how can the TUC leverage technology like data analytics or mobile app to detect and report employment fraud? It's very simple. The Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, under the leadership of Comrade Engineer Festus Osifo, can strategically leverage technology, including data analytics and mobile app, to detect and report employment fraud in several impactful ways. For example, mobile app for real-time reporting, anonymous whistleblowing, who create a secure mobile app where workers can report fraudulent employment practices, ghost workers, wage theft, fake employment letters, etc., etc. Again, geotagging and time spacing. Reports can be time spacing and geotagged to validate authenticity Again, multilingual interface. This could ensure inclusivity. I beg your pardon, I don't want to bite my tongue. Inclusivity across Nigerian diverse workforce. So we are also of the opinion that data analytics could be used to identify patterns, for instance, payroll audit, to analyze payroll data to detect irregularities like duplicated names, mismatched account details, or inflated wages. Employment record could also be verified. The use of machines leading to cross-reference employment records with government database, e.g., for example, BVN, NIN, could also be useful in this regard. Again, sentiment analysis. We could monitor workers' feedback or social media or union forum to sign on systemic fraud petitions. Integration with government and private sector system. API linkages integrated with National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, banks, and personal administrators to cross-check employees' identity and contributions. Of course, blockchain verification is also a valuable tool which could be used to explore blockchains to create and tamper-proof digital employment records. We could also use digital campaign and training awareness via SMS, WhatsApp, booths to educate members on common fraud tactics and reporting procedures. We could also gain field training apps, tech detection of employment fraud through interactive simulations. We could also use dashboard for union leadership, central monitoring dashboard to aggregate and visualize report flags, flag hotspot, and track enforcement follow-ups. Again, we could collaborate with tech startups. We could partner with the Nigerian startup focused on HR tech or gov tech to co-develop custom fraud detection tools. If these are put in place, we rightly believe my pension will be adequately handled. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, comrade, for that response. And I believe the concerns of the participants who raised that question has been addressed. While it has been a very wonderful time with every one of us, I think is a thing of joy for us to state that we've come to the end of this knowledge sharing session. And for us at Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, we appreciate everyone who was part of this conversation, from our resource persons, Dr. Joseph Oguje, bringing insights from the EFCC's perspective, Mrs. Chizoba Mujeku, FCIPM, GPHR. Thank you for your insights, Ma. Very, very robust conversation. Comrade Nuhu Toro, the Secretary General of TUCN, your insight from the labor perspective, Mrs. Taiwo Dayo Abaton, FCIPM, the Regional HR Head of Sub-Saharan Africa at VFS, TDA. Thank you very much, Ma, for your insight and contribution to this conversation. And lastly, also, I want to appreciate the chief host, Director General, Mr. Dewale Smart, for convening this session. Indeed, it has been a very robust and insightful session. A lot of conversation has been bettered from this conversation. If you're looking at the chat box like I have access to, you can see that a lot of conversation is being bettered from this conversation. And I can trust to tell you that definitively NECA will be taking steps to act on points that has been raised in this conversation going forward. This conversation does not end here. We're looking forward to engaging beyond now. We're looking forward to engaging beyond now, even with the EFCC and other relevant stakeholders to drive this conversation home and also see that we get a solution to this menace. Thank you once again, everyone. Thank you for participating. Thank you for attending. Do have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
you.